Good afternoon, classmates. Hope your week's been good. I'm Arlen Calhoun. Live here in very cold Rapid City, South Dakota. Just got back after a 5-hour drive from Aberdeen, South Dakota. I'm military Bob Squad, and I actually had to go out on an emergency call down in Aberdeen. There was an old Korean rocket that somebody had in their house. If you're interested, you may actually be able to find something up on news for Aberdeen, maybe something on Facebook. You can look it up, it might be cool. Anyways, on to the topic at hand. So I chose to read Faith and the Founders of American Republic, Chapter 10, which was John Hancock and the Congregationalist Revolution, by Mark David Hall and Daniel L. Dreisbach. In this chapter, Hall and Dreisbach discuss the life and nature of John Hancock. In specific, they cover the question of his religious beliefs as they apply to his contributions to the American Revolution. In addition to this chapter, I read a couple other articles which delve into the character of John Hancock. One of those articles was from the Mississippi Valley Historical Review by O.M. Dickerson, called John Hancock, Notorious Smuggler or Near Victim of British Revenue Racketeer. The other article which I read was from the Journal of American History, and that was written by Donald J. Proctor. It was called John Hancock, New Soundings on an Old Barrel. So, to begin, I'd like to talk about John Hancock. It's surprising, but he's pretty well overlooked when you go back and study revolutionary America. The thing that he's most well known for is his huge signature on the Declaration of Independence. But he was way more than that, did so much more, and contributed more to the revolution than just his signature. He was actually the second most monetary benefactor of the American Revolution. He was a major benefactor for many who suffered from the war and before the war in Massachusetts. He even served as the president of Continental Congress during the war, and he was governor of Massachusetts after the war. However, John Hancock's motives and his character have been in question in modern historical studies. Hall and Dreisbach attempt to dispel the question of his character by evaluating his religious motivations, along with some other things. So, some historians have claimed that Hancock only supported the revolution in an attempt to preserve his life and property. This, they explain, is very simple-minded, and it doesn't come anywhere close to the actual truth. Now, Hall and Dreisbach do believe that there were many factors in which caused Hancock to support the revolution. However, they don't believe that it was simply just a motivator of money. And I'll get into why that is a little bit later. They and others refute this simply by looking at his monetary holdings before and after the war. So if you look at how much stuff John Hancock owned before and then after the war, you can definitely see that he lost money through the war. So trying to say that he was supportive of the revolution simply so that he could make money out of it is just asinine. And that this alone shouldn't be enough to say that John Hancock was only in it for the money. One of the other things that they look at is, again, his religious beliefs. Along with that is where he went to church in Massachusetts, which was the Brattle Street Church. There he was graced by the sermons of Samuel Cooper, who taught that money and God's work were not incompatible. Rather, the proper and generous heart would not leave his life or love money and therefore give it out and help others with it. So he taught that you could both have money and be a follower of God. You didn't have to be destitute to be a follower of God. Up until that time, he was one of the first preachers that kind of taught that way, and it was basically saying that just because you make money and you're a businessman doesn't mean that you aren't going to be a good follower of Christ. That your good heart and your generosity and helping others, benefacting others with what God has given you and blessed you with is what true Christianity would be. So there are a ton of examples of John Hancock's philanthropy throughout his life. But one statement that really stuck with me is a statement by John Adams, in which he testifies that 1,000 Bostonian families relied on their daily bread from Hancock every day of the year. So it seems clear that John Hancock was more than the general populace of America currently knows him as. Given my research and a couple articles that I looked at, it definitely seems that John Hancock was a genuine Christian. You can look at tons and tons of documents which go into his own personal words, and almost all the time he's quoting Bible verses, and all of his political policies, everything about what he did was just continuously about the providence of God, God's control over our lives, and how we should accept things that he does, and how to try to better government by following Christian morality. So I definitely think that John Hancock was an incredible individual. I'd like to close with another quote from John Adams, and this was after Hancock's death. He said, "I could melt into tears when I hear his name. If benevolence, charity, generosity were ever personified in North America, they were John Hancock." So I hope to hear your thoughts about the life and character of John Hancock over the next few days, and I hope you all enjoy your weekend. Bye.